So we got the movie Uncharted. Is this worth going in IMAX? Honestly, guys, if you've loved the video games, because this is a movie adaptation from the video game series on PlayStation consoles. If you also like great action set pieces, want an action adventure movie like Indiana Jones. Other than that, if you don't like probably these listings that we just mentioned, regular is probably the way to go for you, unless you really want to dive into like IMAX, which is always the better experience than regular or in Dolby, in my opinion. So we got Uncharted. Now, this movie has a brief history lesson that is very complicated. Mark Wahlberg, the person who plays Victor Sullivan in this movie, was supposed to be playing Nathan Drake at one point. The project just kept on getting pushed back between so many delays, so many stuff. COVID happened, different directors jumping in and out of the project. It's like at one point, Uncharted was floating around with rumors like this movie was going to be made based on the famous video game adaptation from PlayStation consoles. It's like, wow, finally we have it out. And it's like, damn, Mark Wahlberg was supposed to play Nathan Drake, but after so many years of delays and just cancellation, different directors coming in, we got Tom Holland playing as Nathan Drake, Mark Wahlberg as Victor Sullivan, and we also got Sophia Taylor-Ali as Chloe Fraser. If you don't know who she is, she also played in Blumhouse's Truth or Dare, which I did like the movie. A lot of people did not like that movie, but seeing her in this role, I was like, oh, she's sexy, she's gorgeous. She definitely feels and looks like Chloe Fraser. I played all the Uncharted games, 1, 2, and 3, Nathan Drake's collection, A Thief's End on PlayStation 4 Pro, and also the spin-off. I forgot what it was. It starred Nadine Ross and Chloe Fraser, even the PSP Vita Golden Abyss. So I played all the Uncharted games. I've seen like the Let's Plays, everything, so I'm very familiarized with the story, the theme song, and I love it. So seeing this, I'm like, I kind of have a lot to say because a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Uncharted only works if you've never seen like the video games. And then there's some people that are saying that if you like the video games, you'll like this. So it's very different. I guess it depends on which person and which angle you're coming at this movie with the background knowledge that if you did or did not play the games and how they resonated with you. This movie opens up with a beautiful PlayStation logos productions because PlayStation now is making Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, and like The Last of Us movie and TV shows. So I think it's up on YouTube on their like PlayStation channel, but it was so beautiful and breathtaking to see that. That was the first time I ever saw it. Was in IMAX, was the PlayStation productions, and you see all the other characters, the logos. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. However, this movie starts with a pullback. So if you've seen the trailers or if you've seen the movie posters, you guys know, or have played the video games, I'm gonna come at this if you've never played the games, but I'm gonna give you the knowledge that you need in order to fulfill this review for the movie. So let's talk about what's going on in the beginning. So if you've seen the movies or trailers, you know that there's an airplane scene where there's cargo, there's luggage, there's like a lot of animations, action sequence. So that's what the movie starts. Tom Holland's like in the cargo. I was like, oh, this is so cool. We're getting to the Uncharted because that's what happens, I think, in Uncharted 2 or 3, which made that game amazing because it was like a big action set piece in video games before. Because remember, Uncharted came out on PlayStation 3. We see Nathan Drake played by Tom Holland and a bartender stealing from a young woman who I thought was Elena, but it wasn't. In the end credits, it just said young woman. So I don't know if the movie was hinting of Elena. We'll talk about her in a second. He's trying to like pickpocket her just like in the video games because that's what they do. You know, they're good pickpocketing. They're stealing a little bit of things like trinkets and stuff. And that's where he meets Victor Sullivan played by Mark Wahlberg. Basically, the story is if you play the games, Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland team up because they need each other to do this grand heist that they can't pull off alone, but they have to be together. If you played the video games, which I don't know if you've never played the video games, how you will look at this. You might like it, but to me, since I played the video games, I felt like it took so many selections of the set pieces, the grand skeptical set pieces in the video games and threw them in this movie like different out of whack order without giving any context as to why it needs to be there other than just it being a movie. Like, I know that sounds really bad, but bear with me. It feels like a bunch of collections from major action set pieces in video games just throwing in this movie. The first scene where the movie has that's kind of like action-y fighting and espionage, which is, by the way, great. I love all that part, like the fighting, the banter between the characters, the chemistry between Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland, even though it just didn't feel that like strong because in the video games, Uncharted, Nathan Drake in the video games and Victor Sullivan, they kind of have this father and son relationship. I kind of don't feel like I got that here in the movie, maybe because it's their first one and the Uncharted video games take more than 2 hours to complete. So maybe that was just me coming into it because of the movie. I'm just like, they do have good banter, like fun jokes and like fighting sequences, but I felt like the video game fleshed out more of the characters, probably because it has like 6 installments plus the spin-off games. The movie starts off with that auction scene, you know, that fancy auction scene that started in Uncharted 4. Let me remind you, Uncharted 4 came out on PlayStation 4. So the movie to start the auction scene from a video game that's supposed to start later in the day, it just felt weird because it's like the auction scene was supposed to be with other characters if you played the game, and for the movie to start with that, it just like felt out of place. I'm like, why would they start with that? Like in the video games, they took so many years and time for it to get to that point. That's why in Uncharted 4, starting with that scene was great because it showed the fashion, the techniques, the technology behind it. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm like being rent off. However, that doesn't happen. So whatever. Go to the action scene. It comes out with a little trinkets like Shambhala, like they have to find this this tree from Uncharted 2, and then they have to go to like Europe or something, and then that's where we get Chloe, played by Sophia Ali, which was beautiful and gorgeous, by the way. She is kind of like the love interest in this movie, but if you played the video games, you know that Elena was already in the beginning of the game. And just to let you know, Elena is not in this movie. I am so sorry to be honest like that, but where is she? She's not even in this movie, even though the video games made her to be like a very like pivotal character in Nathan Drake's life, and she's not even in this movie. I don't know, I felt like it kind of hinted to her in the beginning, and that's this one thing too, and we'll get to that in a second. Just Elena's not here. So we meet Chloe Fraser, and the whole time between this dialogue, all three of the characters, they're learning how to trust each other, they're fighting against each other, like they don't trust just like the video games, like they kind of betray each other in weird ways, but the video game, you know, it doesn't go that far, but the movie like does go that far, and it's very like out of place for characters to do that, because I just felt like, yeah, they betray each other in the video games, but it's not that big like they did in the movie. We got the villain played by Antonio Banderas. He was okay. I felt like he was just like a normal villain that any video game would get, that any movie would get, just like a villain that just wants the gold and has henchmen in his back. And like the henchman that he hired was Tati Gabrielli. I don't know her name in the movie, but it felt like she was Nadine Ross. However, it wasn't, because her name is, I waited until the credits, her name is not Nadine Ross, and Nadine Ross is not even in this movie. It's like they started with Chloe Fraser. Like why would they start with her? Like I get it, she's gorgeous, she's badass, and she does go with Nathan Drake to some of this journey, but we can't forget Elena too. Like she does go with Drake too, especially in Uncharted 4. Like even in Uncharted 1, it's like, I know I'm kind of going everywhere with this review, it kind of felt like this movie was making it out to be a cinematic universe with a second movie and third movie. It's like now we have to wait for the next installments, hopefully, if there is one, because if this movie doesn't make money, Sony's not going to greenlit a second project. But if they do, this movie felt like, oh, let's just throw this out so the people can go, and then we'll get like more of the storyline later on. It's like, what, you just missed a lot of Uncharted stuff, like a lot. In the beginning, it was really hard to distinguish Tom Holland as Spider-Man because he does the same pose, which I can't do here because of constraints of like the living space. But it's just, I mean, it could be muscle memory at this point. I don't know. It just felt like so weird. I'm like, is that Nathan Drake? But however, the movie is going for like a younger version of these characters, because not even Mark Wahlberg as Victor Sullivan has this mustache. And think about that's way into the end. They just included a lot of action pieces and changed the whole story around. Like, yes, we have the auction scene. Yes, we have the plane scene. Yes, we have other scenes from the video games that I'm not even like spoiled to you, because that's like the fun of the movie. It's like they have all these set pieces like right there, and then just change the story. Like, have you seen the trailers? You know, the last action set piece is the pirates. Like, pirates? Are you kidding me? Like, that is an Uncharted 4. In Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, that was the last like big ending, and they're putting it in the first movie. It's like, yes, they still have more action set pieces that they can include from the video games, but it's like, why would you take the best and just put it in the first movie, even though this movie felt like it needed more installments? You see what I'm trying to get? Like, I do love the Uncharted franchise, and I do like Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. I just felt like this was a messy, rough draft. Overall, fun, good time. I don't know. There's no Ross, there's no Elena. It's like, damn. I don't know how other people will take it. I'm just basing you what I felt like. If you've never played Uncharted games, this movie, I don't know how you're gonna take it, because I can't delete that knowledge from my brain knowing the Uncharted franchise video games. But I've talked to some people, they said it felt like more of an Indiana Jones finding the gold action adventure movie with fighting sequences and shooting. And yeah, that's basically what it is. You have to find the clues, get the gold. Like I said, guys, Nathan Drake, Tom Holland, yeah, he's great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that character being a younger version. He does do the crazy banter, the crazy jokes from the video games into the movie, like when he's fighting some guys, like, hey, how you doing? Like, he is definitely still charismatic. Overall, I had no expectations going to this movie. You guys know I don't watch trailers, and like going into this movie blind, it's like basically what I could just tell you is they took away great action set pieces from the video games and just messed around with the story. Oh, we're gonna take this from this game, and this game, we're gonna put it into the movie and change the story. Change. It felt like they fumbled the storyline, but overall, guys, I thought it was okay / fun movie. Like, coming at it from a gamer's perspective, I get it. You know, Hollywood is different. Like, you gotta change some things. Like, yes, Hollywood, it's, you gotta change it. But it comes back to what I said before. It felt like they wanted to make a cinematic universe, and it's just like, why don't you just make a good first installment before thinking about like part 2, part 3, part 4? Like, don't get me wrong, I love Uncharted franchise, I love the video games, but this movie, just like I said before, overall fun, okay / time. Like, this is a fun time. It's okay. It's not like the best. Like, it's fine. I mean, I don't know. I maybe part 2 and part 3 can reiterate, like, we're still missing a lot of characters, and like not having Elena there to me is like a big downfall, because Elena really changed Nathan Drake in some type of way, and for her not to even be hinted in this movie, even in the beginning scene, it's a young woman in the end credits. That's gonna be everything it for me today. Hope you have a great day, and let me know if you ever need anything. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing so you stay up to date with the new movies, news, information. Take care.